All right, folks, that is preseason game number 2 in the books. Vikings win 25-19, and I'm pretty ambivalent about what I saw out there tonight on the whole. So I got quite a few positives that I took away from this game, but unlike the Denver game, there are quite a few negatives that we have to run through here. So not feeling crazy hyped after this one, not feeling super down or anything, just kind of eh. So basically, the good stuff kind of speaks for itself, I think. The guys that we expect to be good looked fine. Wilson played a couple of series and he played good. He missed a couple of throws. He missed Jaron Brown on a third down that would have kept the drive going. He missed a wide open Tyler Lockett on what would have been an easy touchdown pitch and catch, but he took off. And he missed Chris Carson on a screen pass. The ball might have been tipped, I'm not sure. But other than that, Wilson was fine. He was sharp. He hit Lockett on a nice play to start the game. He hit a Jaron Brown on a nice little 30-yard play, or 33-yard play to set up a field goal. And Carson looked good. He, for the little action that he got, Carson looked good. I was also really happy with the offensive line. The starting offensive line was giving clean pockets to Wilson and giving Carson the opportunity to use running lanes. Basically, when it came to the guys that are kind of sort of known commodities on this team, pretty good. Pretty good. And the offense seems like they're ready to go. The primary players on offense seem like they are ready to go into this season. So that's certainly a big positive. And to pick out some bright spots on defense, the two guys that I think really need to be shouted out on the defense would be number one, Calitro had another good game in the preseason, led the team with 9 tackles. Some of it is mitigated by the fact that he was good in the preseason last year too, and then didn't really make an impact last year in the regular season. Deshaun Shedd, even though he had some difficulties in the game, otherwise did have a very nice pick six. It was a bad throw or a bad route or something, and the ball just kind of floated right to him. But pick six, that was cool. Happy for him. Happy to have him, because with the way things are looking with some of the other players, we might need him more than we thought. And the other name you got to shout out on this defense is Poona Ford. Poona was a monster tonight. It seemed like he was involved in every other play. He looks like he's ready to be the primary run stuffer and just general pocket disruptor for these Seahawks. And for a guy that we didn't have to give up any assets to get, really, it's been crazy how good Poona has already become. There are a couple other players on this defense too who I thought made plays. Cassius Marsh and Barkarius Mingo got pressure on the quarterback that led to the pick. We were able to generate pressure on a couple of other plays. Cody Barton, I thought, had a pretty nice game. Not huge stats or anything like that, but I like the way he's playing football right now. So that's the good stuff on defense. But hold that thought. I'm going to get back to the defense in a second here, because I also saw quite a few things that I really didn't care for. Special teams look pretty good. We gave up one pretty good kick return, but other than that, we had a pretty good return of our own that got called back on a holding call that had nothing to do with the play. David Moore actually looks like a real returner, which I did not expect. I didn't think he had the speed for it, but he's a effective return man after all, and I like what I see from him in that role. The punting was good, of course, from Dixon, and Jason Myers. I was hesitant on this contract because we were paying a kicker who was decent his whole career like he was an elite kicker because he had an elite season last year. And usually those players just regress to the mean, but if this is the kind of stuff that we see, 4 for 4, a 52-yarder that would have been good from 62 yards probably, and just generally looking reliable and confident and knocking them right down the middle, it's worth the slightly restrictive contract. So the coverage on punts and kicks was generally pretty good. Ugo Amadi had a great play on one of the punts where, I mean, let's be real here. He's basically just going, if I get a penalty, I get a penalty, but hopefully I time it right. And he did. But that was a nice play. Basically, the special teams, after a few years of really being a weakness of the team, looks like they might finally be getting things back on track. We've got the kicking situation pretty solid for the moment. We've got the it looks like the coverage teams are coming around a little bit, so I'm optimistic about all that. But let's get to the other side of things. So offense. I saw quite a few things that I didn't really like tonight, but the good news is these things that I'm going to point out here not going to matter a lot, hopefully. If they do matter a lot, then it means a bunch of people got hurt or something or played really, really bad, in which case, you can't expect to have a very good season when your staples don't perform, really. The backup offensive line was a mess, especially number 75. I don't know his name. It was one of those names that was hard to pronounce. But we had number 75 play left tackle after Dwayne Brown left because Fant is hurt, and I think Jamarco Jones is hurt as well. And right away, he was getting his ass whipped. He had a bad penalty on a play where he just didn't need to commit the holding call. He got blown by a couple times. He gave up a sack. He was bad. A bunch of other players on that offensive line were bad, and it was really hard to evaluate anything else for a good part of this game because our offensive line didn't let these plays get started. However, even with that, it has to be said, first of all, Paxton Lynch, after playing real good in week 1, back to earth this week. He missed throws. He was off in his reads. He threw one pass in the red zone that should have been an easy interception, and it just got dropped. He took a sack, at least one sack after not taking any last week, I don't think. So, not a good game for Paxton Lynch. The backup quarterback spot is a black hole in Seattle once again. Until one of these guys, be it Geno or Paxton or JT Barrett, gives us reason to be confident in them. So, despite the bad offensive line play, the dude has to be held accountable for it. He did not perform. And while we're getting on some of the backup players, Rashad Penny, I try to hold back on this a little bit because people got on me when I was critical of the Rashad Penny pick last year. That was not a draft pick that I really cared for, but I've always said that I thought Penny was going to be a good player. I just didn't know how valuable he would be to us as a good player. And Twitter, especially, like I follow a bunch of Seahawks beat writers on Twitter, they're starting to turn on the Rashad Penny thing. He's just not decisive in his cuts and in hitting the hole unless it's obvious. He's fast. He's got talent. He can make people miss. We saw some of this last year. Some of this stuff we saw last year, and I was like, okay, he's going to be good for us. But the more I look at it, the more I think, not only do we not need this guy, even if he is good, I'm not sure that he is good. He's good in some areas, but he's just not being decisive right now. And the offensive line holds some of the blame for this because they sucked when Penny got in the game. But Travis Homer and Travis Homer, who finally got some burn tonight, he looked clearly better than Rashad Penny. Xavier Turner looked better than Rashad Penny, although that's a small sample size and it's against the third stringers. I get that. So, officially worried about Rashad Penny. He needs to be a little more decisive. No DK Metcalf tonight, so that was a disappointment. So we didn't get to evaluate him, and we probably wouldn't have been able to evaluate much just because the quarterback and offensive line play were so weak. But not a good game for Jazz Ferguson. 2 catches on 7 targets. He had a fumble. He had a drop. He had a possibility to make a play in the end zone on I think a JT Barrett pass, and didn't make it. So not a good game for Jazz after a really good game in the first game. David Moore caught one pass, and we didn't see much from him the rest of the game. I don't know where he is in this offense right now. I really don't. I don't know if he's expected to start. I don't know if he's the number three. Yeah, we've seen the big plays, we've seen the talent, but it seems like he's still pretty raw. Really frustrated that Gary Jennings Jr. is basically not getting any action. He's not getting the ball thrown at him. He's not getting the opportunity to make plays, and that's the guy we need to learn about. DK and Jennings are the guys that I really want to learn about right now, and Jennings has got like 2 targets through 2 games. I guess that just about sums up the offense. The players that I want to see how they perform. Either we didn't see them very much, or they just weren't there. So, moving on to the defense, there were some concerns here. I thought that the defense as a whole played with less energy than they did last week. Other than the pick six, they didn't make very many big plays. The starting unit, they made, some nice pressures on a third down to force a incomplete pass and a punt. They had a nice defense of a screen. Al Woods tackled the running back 4 yards in the backfield. But we gave up a deep ball to Adam Thielen where Shaquille Griffin just got burned. And I know Adam Thielen is amazing, but Shaquille Griffin looked real bad on that play, and after what happened last year with his disappointing performances, that's not what we need to see. Trey Flowers, very grabby. He had a pass interference call where he didn't need to get it. He actually was in pretty good position to make a play, and he grabbed Thielen's arm. That was a 50 or 45-yard penalty, I think. And he had another play in the end zone where he probably grabbed the dude, and it just didn't get called. So that's a troubling sign. We don't need him to start becoming, somebody who grabs on every play, because they will call it enough to where your effectiveness as a player goes out the window. So did not like what I saw from the cornerbacks. Akeem King didn't play very well, I don't think. I think he gave up a lot of easy passes. And in that second half, the whole defense, I thought, played with low energy, very low energy. And King gave up a lot of passes. Shed gave up a 3rd and 9. Shed missed a couple tackles. He did have the pick six, which was great, but he did miss a few plays in this game. Pass rush, we were found a couple ways to generate pass rush, but for the most part, it was as quiet as we probably expect it to be this season, given the personnel that we have out there right now. And the run defense, some plays it's good. I mean, Poona Ford gets involved, it's a good play against the run, but if it's to the outside, if it challenges the linebackers, because none of our linebackers are out there right now, I'm not too worried about that, but I can see where our run defense is possibly going to be a problem this year, because it was a problem last year, and I don't think we did a ton to address it. So, defense, I didn't love it. I mean, there was a drive in this game. It ended in the Shed pick six, but the second string Vikings offense was moving the ball pretty well on our first string defense. Most of our first string defense, not all of them, but Sean Mannion was making some nice throws against our at least half of our starting defense. They had their backup receivers and running backs and offensive line out there, and they didn't seem to have a big problem moving the ball. So that bothered me a bit, even though that drive ended well. So some things to like, some things to not like so much. I'm concerned about the depth on offense. I want to see more of some of these backup receivers like Jennings, and of course when he gets healthy, Metcalf. And defensively, I know we have some good players. I'm not convinced it's going to be enough to add up to a good unit. The cherry on top of the things I didn't like tonight has to be the injuries. Most significantly, Marquise Blair, if he misses time because of something in the preseason, because he got carted off tonight with a back injury, that's crushing, because that's a dude who could have made an impact from day one in some capacity. And then we lost an offensive lineman, a reserve offensive lineman, but a rookie who was trying to prove himself in the fourth quarter. And Paxton Lynch, after not playing well tonight at all, got his head blown off by a Viking. Uh, I know it doesn't really matter, but we need somebody out there who can make passable throws so we can start evaluating these receivers. And right now, if it's not Wilson, it doesn't seem like we have anybody who can make throws. And that's a problem when you're trying to evaluate third stringers. So a little down about that. The injuries, they're piling up. And this isn't an Seahawks exclusive thing at all, but it's not fun. And yeah, that's what I got for this game. Good amount to talk about. There was a lot of good stuff, but also a lot of stuff I didn't like. So you learned a lot. We got 2 more preseason games coming up. Next one's going to swing around real quick, so I'll see you guys after that one. Maybe I'll make a video before it. I don't know, but go Hawks! 1-1 in the preseason. The guys that we know are going to be good look good. It's everyone else that I want to see more of. See you guys later.